So you've probably heard that you can't run things off grid like an air fryer or a kettle or a toaster or a hairdryer. I don't really have that thing. Or a hair straightener. Don't really have that problem either. Or a microwave or a George Foreman grill or all those types of things, an induction hob. And that was probably true maybe going back sort of 5 or 6 years, mainly because the technology was more expensive and not as advanced then. But these days it is so easy to get mains electricity in your campervan and motorhome off grid, well, no matter where you are. So I'm going to go and explain two concepts of going down this route. And one is via an inverter that's attached to your batteries. And obviously you're going to make sure that you understand about the appliance watt rating so that you know what inverter that you need, and to make sure that your battery can supply the power that your inverter is going to need. And then the second one, I'm going to explain about power packs, power stations, whatever you want to call them, and how they can be, well, far easier, because it's just a box that you just put in your van and plug things into. So the first one I'm going to talk about then is if you want to put an inverter in your van, what's the biggest appliance you've got? So for example, my biggest appliance is my air fryer at 1500 watts. So when it came to sizing my inverter, I knew that 1500 watts was going to be roughly my maximum. But I thought, you know, just in case I do ever get something else, I'll go for a 2000 watt inverter. Now, what you've got to understand then is that 2000 watts, when you take that amount of power from 12 volts, is an awful lot of power. So if I run my inverter at max 2000 watts, it's about 167-ish amps that's coming out of my battery. Now, batteries are rated in amp hour to give you an idea of, you know, well, for example, if you were to run that inverter at 167 amps for an hour, then you would need, well, at least a 200 amp hour battery, and then it'd only run for an hour, if you get my drift, a little bit more. The next thing really though is to consider is that some batteries have a very, very, very nice amount of power you can draw from them, and some batteries have a very small amount of power that you can draw from them, and that is the current, maximum current in or maximum current out. And that's talking about how fast sort of thing you can charge the battery and how much power you can take out in one go. So it was important for me. I got a 200 amp hour battery that I can take 200 amps continuously out of it. So that means that I can easily run my 2000 watt inverter. Lots of twos in this one, aren't there? But anyway, I'm running my air fryer, is the biggest appliance that I've got. And my air fryer at around about 1500 watts doesn't take anywhere near the 200 amps that the whole system essentially is able to deliver. And with an air fryer, the element on the inside kind of like powers up, it then gets to temperature and then just powers off and on and off and on. So you're not actually using all that power. The 1500 watts isn't a permanent draw on the system. It is maybe for the first couple of minutes while it gets to temperature, and then after that it drops down quite a lot. Basically probably around about, I would say, 20 seconds in every 60 seconds. So if you think about that, you know, you're not always using all that amount of power. And obviously it depends on what temperature you're trying to cook something as to how much that element needs to stay on to sustain the temperature inside, the air fryer. But that's just one example. I've also got a kettle. Now, obviously a kettle has another element inside, and that only switches off when the water's boiled. So if you are using a kettle, I use it mainly for every time Mandy comes over and wants a brew. Or I use it for having a wash or washing the pots or whatever. I put some hot water in the sink, and I try and fill the kettle to my needs rather than filling it up maximum, so it's not sat there boiling water that I don't need. It's just waste then, isn't it? Toaster's another example. Again, a toaster, you set the temperature or what sort of level of toasting you like, and then the toaster will just sit there with the element on until it pops up. So there's different appliances, that use the electricity in different ways. Little George Foreman grill that I've got, well, that just basically, it turns the elements on, and then they're on for like a minute, and then they're off for a minute, and then they're on for a minute, and then you control however, whatever you're cooking by sort of taking it in and out. So there are different ways of using different electric appliances in your motorhome campervan, and it's just understanding your power needs for those appliances and how long you can use them for. So for example, I love jacket spuds, cheese and beans, one of my favourite little meals. I've got a little electric pot, which is like an electric saucepan, but I can fry things in the bottom like bacon and things like that, and ultimately I can also put things in there like pasta, soup and beans, so I can warm my beans up in there. I could put my beans in the air fryer, but I don't choose to do that. So yeah, I'm doing my beans in my little cooking pot, and I'm doing my jacket potatoes in the air fryer. So to cook my jacket potatoes with my beans, with both appliances on, jacket potatoes take about 25 minutes, half an hour, something like that. And that can take around about sort of 15 to 18 amp hours out of my batteries for the whole time that it's on to cook that meal. So if I am going to cook something like that, I'll make sure that the next day, if it's in the evening that I'm cooking, the next day I'm doing enough driving that I can replenish my battery power, or I'll cook in the middle of the day if it's a nice sunny day, so that the rest of the afternoon the solar can recoup that energy loss, and that's just the way that I choose to do that. Obviously, by having an inverter and everything in your van, you can also charge laptops if you haven't got a 12-volt converter. You can charge a Hoover if you've got that, and all sorts of other things that obviously usually come with a 3-pin 230 volt plug. 230, 240 volt, it's the same thing. So yeah, there are many ways of being able to take all your home appliances, bearing in mind that you've got a limit of the watts they can take. There's usually a label underneath that tells you the wattage, and if you can get a lower wattage appliance, the better, because it'll sort of work with what you've got. Might take a little bit longer to work, but ultimately it'll still allow you to use that appliance in your van. There are obviously considerations about cable sizes between the battery and the inverter. If it's drawing 167 amps, you need to make sure that you're running the biggest cables possible, at least kind of like a 35mm or a 50mm cable, and that should be nice and safe. Now, that obviously to some of you might have gone, oh, it's all complicated, I've got to buy this and I've got to buy that, and the cables, and I've got to work out how much my battery will allow me to take out or put back in, and then the inverter, I've got to decide what to do with this, and yeah, a lot of you might go, nah, I'll just go to a campsite and plug in, or I'll just put a gas system in my van and just cook things with gas. And that's why the second option I think is brilliant, and that is a power pack. The power packs that Mandy and I have been using for months now are the All Powers S2000, and they are the most cost effective, coming in at around about £900, £800. They're the most cost effective power supply or power bank or power station that we could find, that we found to be ultra reliable. They are a 2000 watt inverter power pack, with a 1500 watt hour battery. They're such a small form factor. Yes, they've got USB sockets on the front, so you can charge phones and all those other sort of gadgets, and 12 volt sig lighter as well, so you can plug other things in there. I do like the form factor of it as well. It's very compact. On the back you've just got a lead basically to provide power to charge it, and on the front are all your controls. You can also charge it by 12 volt, so for example when you're driving down the road you can charge it that way, and you can also charge it via solar panels as well. And yeah, we've got a 400 watt huge All Powers folding solar panel as well, to give it a boost, to effectively to charge it in the middle of a field or whatever, so we can have the van, if we wanted to, getting shade, and still charge the power pack. And the power pack, obviously because I've got a mains charger in my van, the power pack can then charge my van via mains as well. So lots of uses, and like I said, the way that I kind of like tend to use it is, if I know that I'm cooking in the middle of the day and I'm going to get solar, or if I'm going for a drive the next day, so I'm going to get my boost back up on my battery, then I'll use my inverter for all my electrical needs. However, if I'm thinking like long term, I'm going to be at a park up for a few days, maybe I'm under trees, maybe the weather's like it is today and raining, and I think, well, solar's not really going to be great today, and I'm not going to be driving, so I'm not going to be powering up that way. Then what I'll do then is I will use my S2000 as my power supply. And the way I've got it wired, it's kind of a bit unique, I guess, but my S2000 is really my backup power supply. So for me to get mains power and to use that power without using my main battery, my leisure battery in my van. So my leisure battery can still power my fridge, all the lights, the max fan, the diesel heater, probably going to need that soon, and yeah, and all the other things that's going to be all powered by my leisure battery. So I think, well, I'll cook on the S2000 on the external power pack. So what I've got is I've got a cable that comes out of the power pack that feeds into my inverter, because my inverter allows, it's called switchover power. So essentially my inverter thinks that the all powers is giving it mains. So it's just going to go, right, okay then, so all my sockets are wired through my inverter, but my inverter then has this backup supply through the S2000. Again, it's getting a bit complicated, but I just thought I'd explain the way I do it in case you want to do it the same way. So yes, when I switch the S2000 on, it basically powers up all my sockets through the inverter, although the inverter isn't then using power from my battery. So that's the way it works. You could just plug straight into the, the power station if you wanted to. You don't have to do it the way I do it. It's just the way I've done it. It gives me an extra backup, and I like to have backups to things as much as possible anyway. So yeah, again, there are many other brands of power stations out there. I just think that this one is the most compact and best features, if you like, for the price. And it's very reliable from a decent brand. Everyone knows about all powers. There's an app for it as well, so you can remotely control it. So I can get my phone out now and I can go, right, okay, let's turn the mains on, and sat here and cooking. I don't have to climb under the bed, which is where I've got it stored out of the way, and go and sort of press switches or whatever. But you can do it that way, it's up to you. And if you wanted in a motorhome where you've got like a hookup cable, you can just basically make a little tail that goes from your hookup socket on your van into a 3-pin plug. You can buy those at little adapters, and therefore then you can use your power supply as your mains in the van. It'll auto switch over, and you can also use it to charge your batteries in your van as well. So they are so versatile for a little bit of weight that they are. I think it weighs around about 12 kilos. So like I say, mega useful, loads of power, so easy to use and so versatile that I pretty much think most people would probably benefit from carrying one around at some time, especially if you spend a lot of time off grid. I mean, even so much so that, if you live in a place where you get power cuts a lot, yeah, plug all your appliances into that, plug that into the wall, and as soon as the power goes down, it'll come back up, and yeah, everything's still powered up. So very versatile, and yeah, just another way of easily getting mains power into your motorhome or camper van. That doesn't involve all this, sort of theoretical power versus watts versus cable sizes and all that kind of stuff. You simply just go and buy a box and plug your stuff into the box, and when you want the power, you press the button on the front, or you go in the app and press the little button on the app, and that's that. So yeah, that is my sort of little view of it. Hopefully that's helped some of you out. Yeah, just to reiterate as well, we've been using them for about 6 months now. Never any problems with them. They just work flawlessly. Why did we choose the all power S2000? Again, it was the best spec that we could find in the smallest form factor, and the price, you just can't argue with it. Like I say, there's a link down below to where we got them off Amazon, and yeah, I think it's like 800-900 quid, something like that. Obviously the prices fluctuate depending on which time of year and whether there's electricity brownouts or not, I've noticed. So yeah, it's around about that price, but yeah, absolutely fantastic. Right, I'm going to go off and probably put my heater on because it's quite cold now. It says it's 14 degrees outside and it's raining, and yeah, there we go. Oh, you can even run an electric heater as well. I've got a little Russell Hobbs fan heater that I plug in, and yeah, keeps my van nice and toasty instead of using the diesel heater if I'm ever parked up somewhere and I don't want the to wake other people up. Right, I'll catch you on the next one, folks. See you later. Bye.